Okay, so I was just talking about Carlos Castaneda books, which I think are a wonderful work of spiritual literature. But his conclusion is, and he states it throughout the books, that this is a predatory universe, that everything is trying to feed on everything else. And so if he's talking about this thought system down here, absolutely, it's predatory. We're all cannibalizing one another of specialness. It's automatic scarcity because we've cut ourselves off from wholeness. So now there's only a tiny little pie that we all have to get our needs met. And we don't have much time to do it in because the bodies are going to die. So we think there's special love in here that we can get, whether it's somebody's approval or some romantic love or more money or more toys or whatever it is. We think that there's more that we can get. So we have all our strategies for getting there. So the circle is really, this is almost like a manacle, like a chain and a manacle you put around your wrist. And this manacle of specialness is keeping us imprisoned. And within it, we're constantly excluding others. They don't operate in my circles, or I'm not good enough to be in their circles, or whatever it is. And if you were to draw a little chart of your own relationships, you've got your inner circle, people that you consider your family, your closest friends. And then maybe further out, there might be some people that you know pretty well, but they're not intimate friends. They're not in your intimate circle. And then further out, there's your enemies. So, or people that you actively dislike. So we do those kinds of circles, are circles that are really prison cells. And so for the last few years, I've been receiving these little drawings, which is where this eye came from. Okay. But they always come with a spiral. So I think as we progress and we undo that circle of that predatory circle, that we begin to develop a relationship, and that spiral speaks of spirit. We develop a relationship with our own higher self, our own right mind. And it becomes a habit and a flow. This is where the flow is that spiral flow. It becomes a habit to bring our pains, our problems, our difficulties, to just come up here and hold them up to love and look and see them differently. And then you establish a flow in your life that's not constrained by getting your special needs met and being in competition with everybody else to get their needs met. So, any comments on that?
I know from listening to some of Ken's stuff that he talks about being defenseless and kind, that those are the main two. And is that kind of what you're referring to?
Well, you're in alignment here with light, with love, with kindness. This is kindness. This would have you be kind to yourself too. You can't exclude yourself. You can say, well, I can be kind to everybody else, but I can't be. I'm such a bad person, such a bad course student. Well, it's no different if you condemn this self than if you condemn some other self. So there's only one of us. And I had another thought about this being our right mind being like a Rosetta Stone. So, for a couple thousand years, we lost the meaning of the hieroglyphics, the Egyptian hieroglyphics. We didn't know what they meant until I think it was in the time of Napoleon that they discovered the Rosetta Stone that had a statement by some king in 3 different languages, and we knew one of the languages or 2 of the languages. So, and the third was in hieroglyphics. And so we were able to then translate. So if you can think about this world as being, and what's on the screen of your life as being hieroglyphics. And there is a mind here that will translate it for you. And it will translate it in a way that's kind. It will translate it so you see everything as love or a call for love. Because that's the only two things there are, according to the Holy Spirit. That's the Holy Spirit's translation of everything that we put on the screen here. And even your own bad behavior is a call for love, right? When you look up here and see what you've been doing, how you've been abusing people in your life, or manipulating people in your life, or attracting people to give you a bad time so then you can feel victimized. And you can say, well, that was my own call for love. And just looking at it with that way, if you get enough of that flow going, the flow of love going in your life, the flow of kindness, the flow of light, then there's no place for that other stuff to even stick. You're undoing, you're dismantling that old thought system that said it's one or the other. Only one can win, and I want it to be me. Only one can be right, and I know it's me. You're dismantling that, and you can come into a flowing, harmonious relationship with everything around you. It doesn't matter physically if you're literally in a bombs are falling on a battlefield, whatever. And you can look at the day's news, and you can look at the politicians calling each other names and trying to get the goods on one another. You could say they're just a call for love. That's all. All those politicians feel just as lonely and frightened and scared and unworthy as I do when I'm in my ego mind. And, the country dropping the bombs on the other country, and the other country has now been victimized, so they get to, their bombs are good when they send the bombs the other way. And you can see yourself reacting to all that, and you don't have to take it so seriously. So, that original statement that we started out with, awareness of dreaming is the real function of God's teachers. They watch the dream figures come and go, shift and change, suffer and die, yet they are not deceived by what they see. It is possible to smile at even all the seemingly terrible things in the world. There's no good guys and bad guys, as Ken Wapnick used to say. There aren't any, I'm sorry. There's no good political parties and no bad political parties. Which is probably not a politically correct thing to say.
It doesn't keep it going.
Well, it's kind of like this whole thing. One of the things that I was getting out of this is there's got to be a better way. Coming to that realization.
This is the better way. Yeah.
Right. When we look, the motivation for looking is when we get there.
Right.
And never stop looking.
And looking is you align yourself with the translator. You align yourself with that Rosetta Stone that will make sense of what's going on. You see, things are not just haphazard. Your body doesn't just happen to get sick. You made it sick because you wanted it for some reason. And eye open, eye closed. I mean, that's it. There's probably many levels of the eye open. Probably it's open just a little crack where you start out, and then immediately shut your eyes. You have to get used to the light because we're so used to the darkness. So,
I have been as I spoke to you about looking a different way about my relationship with my daughter. I have been, quote, seeking her forgiveness because I have been, in her eyes and mine, a bad mother. Well, now I have come to realize that I am judging her for judging me. And I realize that I don't want to judge her anymore, that I am looking at that from a different perspective now, that it was going both ways between us, and that I how can I say it? I know that I am open now to changing the way I look at it. And I'm not sure if you have any comments about that.
Well, it's a great example of what we do. We set up the relationships, and parent-child relationships are the first, the ego's favorite playground to start things out. I had an experience a few years ago when I was in the hospital. I don't know why being in the hospital brought it to me, but I had the experience of totally feeling what the mind of the infant, the newborn infant, feels. And that thought in the newborn infant is, here, this is symbolically. Symbolically, I was in this nice warm womb, and now I'm cast out. I was loved, and now I'm not loved. And the first thing it says, because it's got the guilt programming going on, it doesn't matter if it's a baby or whatever, I ruined the light. That was its first thought. And then it immediately has to get rid of that guilt. So it says to mommy and daddy, you ruined the light. You talked me into coming here. I didn't want to come here. So you took my light away. And I also felt the thought of the parent who feels guilty about bringing this other into the world. And you're cooing and loving this precious, dear little newborn baby, and feeling like I ruined your light. And also, there's another component of that. Talk about a predatory universe. I will have a baby, and then the baby will bring more light. The baby will come and love me, because it will have to love me. So these are all insane thoughts, but that's what goes on in here that the bodies don't even know about. So we set up stories. There never was a Becky, there never was a Denise, but we've got a story going on where they seem so real, and if they are at odds with one another, and they've got all of this documentation about the things that happened that prove that Becky was a bad mother, it just makes it real. It keeps it going. It keeps the sin going. And I don't know what, I think, your daughter would have in her unconscious mind here, she would have the thought that it's not my fault that I'm so messed up. It's because my mother was a bad mother. And my brother did whatever he did to me, And you, in your unconscious mind, would say, well, see, I really have sinned. Sin is real because I was a bad mother, and that proves that I sinned. So the ego wins any way that you construct the story. Even if you had the most wonderful relationship possible with a mother or father, which not many people can say that, would say that, still they're going to go ahead and die. And then you can grieve because, well, I used to have this wonderful relationship and now they're not here anymore. You know, so they get you coming and going. And the best thing to do is just what you're doing. Pat yourself on the back that you've noticed how you're doing it. And then I think that the L in the AOL would say, let her be however she is. However she needs to be, that's okay. If she needs to think that she hates you, that's fine. And if you need to think that, you know, that she hates you, that's fine too, you know, whatever. And that just relaxed letting, just let all things be exactly as they are. That's a course lesson. Let all things be exactly as they are. Someone's projecting onto me, okay, let them project. Someone's angry at me, okay, let them. Someone's disappointed in me, okay, that's fine. You don't have to take it seriously. And the blessing is a good thing to do. Blessing, the whole concept of blessing, whatever it means to you, is just very helpful in there's no harm. That's what blessing says. There's no harm, no one's done anything, nothing's happened, nothing was done, and it's okay.
Thank you. I also today, for the first time, when you show that spiral chart, I understand it. And it seems like, and
This one?
yes, that one, and how it, you know, the more I can see the light, the more I can follow that path upward to the eye, open eye.
That's
of
only love.
Love.
Yeah.
And
So there isn't any closed eye. That's what we're undoing. We're undoing that closed eye.
yeah,
So it's not having those nightmares anymore.
right. So today I can see that and how much of my life in the past several years, that spiral is open for me to travel that path to love. And a few blockages, like that relationship with my daughter, and yet I can still let the rest, and pretty soon I'll be able to let that go. Thank you.
You know, if you think about, sometimes I try and picture the spiral path. If you were inside of a mountain, okay, and you're going up a spiral and you're going up to the very top to break out into the light, okay? So you're going up this spiral path. And you reach a certain point, and you have your resistance and your blockage. Well, then you just go around in circles for a while. Then, when you're ready, you say, I don't want to do this anymore. And there'll be a guardian there that'll say, no, keep going in your circles. And so it will seem kind of painful. And then you break through and you back on the spiral again. And every time you go, you may come back to the same issues over and over, but every time you come back, you're on a higher level. And they're smaller. You don't have to repeat your patterns way down here. And then you hit another plateau. You're in circles again. And then you break free, and then back you go up on the upward spiral. So